Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jade, and this is How to App on iOS. And today, it is episode 1 of The Rant.
The Rant.
The Rant. We're going to be talking about all the gear and no idea. Gas. So kick back for an hour with me and let's enjoy. Hello and welcome to How to App on iOS. My name is Jade. Oops, and there goes my camera. Let's start that again. Hello and welcome to How to App on iOS. My name is Jade and this is The Rant. And today we're going to be talking about gas, gear acquisition syndrome. Let's do it. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the show. So this is something new that we're trialing over the next month or two. I've just decided that every Monday here in Australia or Sunday if you're in the US or UK or Canada, doing an app review on this day is a little bit, I don't know, it just seems like people aren't ready for it. It's always not a really good way to get some engagement, and then the week ramps up. So I thought I would just talk about a topic each week and try and get people's creative juices flowing, or just talk about things, a subject each week. So if you are in the chat, welcome aboard. I can see Adam Burse and Joe Glenn and Darren Anderson, Gregory O'Sullivan and Kim Harden Hudson and Jenny Jolivet and Thomas Christ. Hello to you. Welcome aboard. Thanks for being here. If I've missed anyone, I do apologise. I'm scrolling and checking. So let me know if you're here in the chat. I'm going to be asking you questions on this as well. Hello, Mateus. And a welcome to our Wart Warriors. You can become a Wart Warrior by clicking the join button below and getting access to custom emojis and things. All right, so we're not looking at any apps or anything like that today. We're just going to dive in and talk about this right now. What is gas, gear acquisition syndrome? You'll hear it around YouTube. You'll hear it around the music sphere of people talking about this like it's an evil thing. For starters, I'm just going to say right now, it's not. Okay? It's not an evil thing. As long as you are sensible about it. Yeah? You got to be sensible about things. Now, I try to be as sensible as I can, and I have been over a period of time. And I'm going to take you a walk through my gear acquisition syndrome that has happened, because you're probably thinking, hang on a minute, you're not really a good person to be talking about this, Jade, because you sit here and show us apps every day and gear. But the difference is, and I think people get a bit brain broken over this, when you go around and look at like YouTube channels, and there's a lot of channels out there that aren't telling you to go and buy this stuff. They're just showing you how it works and how it could benefit to you. So don't be brain broken and think that I'm here every day telling you you need this, because in reality, you don't need a lot of things. Now, want and need are two very different things. I want a lot of things. Before I want new gear, I want people to get along. I want this world to be a nicer place. I actually need that to happen. That would be wonderful. Want and need are two things. Both those things seem unattainable in a thing like having the world come together and people actually be decent to each other. But we have a lot more control over that, especially around gear, because you can want all the gear in the world, but the question is, do you need it? And that can change for sure. And it has in my situation, because for a long time, I didn't need a lot of gear and I was making amazing music with my iOS device, an audio interface, a microphone, and an acoustic guitar. That was all I had for quite a long period of time, from like around 2011 to about 2016. And I was making and releasing wicked music. The only thing I needed to upgrade at that point was an electric guitar, so I could do some more metal stuff. And those two guitars, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, a Shure SM7B, an interface, and an iPad man, I was making some great stuff. And I'm going to take you through my journey of gas today so you can see the progression and how I've slowly, very slowly, incrementally updated with things I need and some things I want and some things I got for you to show you if you might want or need them. And as it's turned out, I have some things here that I will never use, but I solely got them for this. So I'm in a little bit of a different situation here because I have an internet YouTube show where I'm showing people things. So there's been a lot of times where I've gone out and bought things with my own money or had a company send me something just so I can show it to you so you can make an informed decision. And it's sitting out the back collecting dust because I didn't actually need it. Hello to anybody else who's joined recently. There's Many Independent, Many United. Hello. Good to see you. There's Barry Glenn. Hello, buddy. Let me know if you're here. Hello, Leela. I know Brad's watching in the background as well. So hello to my dear friends who I'm just chatting with. So let me take you down a little trip down memory lane, yeah? Because I think pictures tell a million words. Hello, Jim Shannon. Yes, pictures do show a million words. So this was my setup, and I've actually gone ahead and made a wonderful photo album of my progression of stuff here. So let's bounce over here. This was my setup for the longest time. As I said, from, this is an old iPad 20. I just got this iPad in 2015. So this is 2015. I had this PreSonus audio box one. Look, I've still got it. It's down here. And it still works. And it's still absolutely competent. Let me show you. By the way, we've got a new overhead cam here, which is pretty good. So this was the PreSonus. This thing cost me $80 secondhand on eBay. And it's still going, still working beautifully. It's wonderful. But, it only had one input. And this was the reason I updated from it. I needed 2 inputs. So there was my first, I need something better. It's not so much that I needed a new interface or something better, because at the end of the day, interfaces are interfaces. All digital zeros and ones with different preamps. And, you're going to be hard to pick the difference between preamps these days. But I needed 2 inputs, right? So that was the first reason we updated there. But this was my setup. We got a little iPad sitting on top of my interface, and it's having a good time, as you can see. And here was the actual setup. I had a mic stand with the, I bought one of those iRig clip-on things, and I still use that. It's still sitting here now. It's holding my iPad here. This thing was like $40, and it clips on to things. Yes, I'm still using that. So this is my setup. You can see I combined it all into one. We've got the iPad on a mic stand with the interface blue tacked onto the top of the iPad, and a SM58 with a pop filter and a guitar. Yeah? There you see my guitar in the background. And I took this all the way to the US with me. This was my studio rig when I lived in the US for 2 years, in 2017 and 18. And pretty much the new album that I'm getting ready to release, all of that was made just with this. Just this. Yeah? So people have been hearing my album going, wow, there's so much going on in that. It was all made just with this rig here. So this proves you don't need all the gear, yeah? A couple of other photos of this lovely setup. I think I had, and there was my pickup that I used for the acoustic, an iRig pickup, which I picked up for about $40 in the US. This was a friend's guitar I used. I don't know why that's in there, because it's got stars on it. So anyway, when I got back from America, I was homeless. Guys, I was living in a park. I was pretty much homeless, and I still had that acoustic. I had the same setup, and was making music living in a park under a fucking tree, siphoning internet from a local business. And then when I got housed, a wonderful volunteer came along and found me living in a park and got me housed, which took a few months. They put me up in a hotel and then they got me housed. And I started getting some money again. And these are the first things I bought. As you can see, I've got this launch key here I bought from Novation. And I bought some monitors. And I still have these monitors. They have been moved downstairs into my lounge room. You're going to hear a lot of this from today. When you have something, yeah, and you upgrade it eventually, you have a contingency plan, yeah? Have a plan. Know what you're going to do with the things that you already have. And you either sell them, give them away to someone who else will use them, or use them somewhere else in your house where you know you don't have to go and buy something else. And I did that recently. I took these monitors and I put them down in my new lounge room. So you guys know that I got banned recently. You all came together and did a whole bunch of streams, live streams for me and raised money. Thanks to Brad and everybody raised money for me. Well, I bought furniture with that money to fill up my house, which had no furniture in it. And these monitors here are now down in my lounge room for my TV. Now, I bought this Novation keyboard thinking, wow, that's cheap. That's awesome. I opened it up and it sucked. I took it straight back and I replaced it for that keyboard right there. The M Audio, what is it? The 49, code 49. Crazy stuff. But you can see I've still got the basic same gear going on here, except you'll notice at the top here, we've moved up to that new interface I mentioned, which has two inputs. Again, the Steinberg UR22 Mark II. I still have that sitting here as well. Still got that sucker sitting here. Look at this thing. It's a tank. It's all made of metal. Still works absolutely perfect. I could be using this today right now. There is not a problem with this interface. Why am I not using it? Again, I'm a YouTube channel. I've had companies send me items to review, and I'm still using the last interface that I reviewed. So we'll head back over here. And again, I've still got the same iPad. I bought this keyboard, and you know what? First mistake of this, I didn't do any investigationing with this keyboard. I still have it. It's sitting right next to me. It's here. It's connected. It's too big. It's too big for me. This turned out to be a massive burden. There's nothing wrong with the keyboard, but I didn't look into it. I had never owned a keyboard before, and I'd never shopped around. I never watched any YouTube videos, and I bought it. It is way too big for me, way too complicated for me, and it ended up being a burden because I had to move it around everywhere while I was not a good idea, but I still have it here right now. It's something that now I can get some use out of because I understand how to use a keyboard. So let me just go through some of these photos. So I always take photos of my setup. And the other thing with the Steinberg was this interface here, sitting over here. I bought this in a pack, and it came with a microphone. So there's always things you can buy. So if you see like an interface, look deeper, because you may find that company has a pack with a microphone, headphones, and an interface, and you'll save a bit of money. I'm going to talk about this now. When talking about things like conspiracy theories and you hear people say, do your research, run when you hear people talking shit like that, right? Don't listen to people like that. But when I say do your research about gear, do your research. And it's really easy. There's channels like me. There's so many channels. And just watch a number of those channels and don't buy into the fact that that particular YouTube channel is telling you you need this. Go into it thinking, what do I need from what I'm looking for? And look for those things that they're explaining within what it does, and does it tick the boxes, right? Is it going to make what you're doing better, right? So we're going to get to my studio and streaming, because here's the thing. With music creation, a lot of new things that you buy aren't necessarily going to make your music better, right? You're going to get better by getting better yourself. That's always going to be the case with making music. Now, guitars these days, interfaces these days, you don't have to spend top dollar for all these things. You can buy very cheap things and get very high quality. Guitars especially, you can buy a pretty cheap guitar these days, take it to a luthier and get it set up for $80, $100 or whatever, what you would spend, and it's going to sound incredible. An interface has the most fantastic, or nearly all interfaces have incredible preamps these days. So, your baseline stuff, your Scarlett, two i2s, all fantastic. High Mix Club and Gortium and Leany. If anyone else I've missed, right? So, microphones as well. Don't buy into this thing of like microphones. Oh, if I get $1,000 microphone, it's going to make me sound. No. There's plenty of amazing microphones around $100 in the US that are just mind-blowingly good. What you're going to need to learn to get better as a singer in a microphone, two things. Let's talk about these quickly. Belief in yourself. Singing like there's nobody watching, singing from within, leaving everything on the field. If you want to go back and get an example of that, go back and watch some of my opening hours on the weekend when I sing. I'm telling you, folks, when I sing, I leave everything out there, right? If I cry, if I shake, I leave everything on the field, as they say in sport. Leave it on the field. Let it all out. That's going to get you a better result for singing than microphone. Also, microphone technique, understanding when you sing loud, moving away from your microphone, and when you sing soft, coming in. Understanding variation of moving and the microphone being an extension of you, right? That's more important than the microphone, right? So don't buy into the fact that microphones are going to make you sound better or this preamp's going to be better than this preamp, where everything is so amazing these days at such good prices. Okay, so there's my little rant on that. You're still with me? Thank you for joining. We've got 30 people here today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope you're going to get some valuable stuff out of this. Let's jump over to gear. So here's this gear. I've had this for a while. We're all set up. I'm all happy taking photos of it. There's my one electric guitar and my acoustic. And we've got two little interfaces up there. I've still got the old one connected because I can't let go of things, right? And I'm so wrapped. Look, I've took heaps of photos. And then I started to change things up. I bought a desk. So this was within a space of about 4 months. You look at these photos of this. This is on cardboard boxes. That's cardboard boxes. And a piece of wood with a piece of cloth over it. Now, this is only 3.5 years ago, guys. Right? And you know what? Wicked. Had no problems. 4 cardboard boxes with a plank over the top and a black sheet. That's not even a sheet. That's my Darth Vader cape from my Darth Vader costume. Right, but I lashed out, and when COVID hit, when the pandemic hit, the government here gave Australians money to stay home. So what did I do? I decided to buy a desk. With the money that I made from COVID that the government gave us, I decided to start live streaming, and I decided to put that money into a plan. So this is important. So as I said, making music, hi Tom and Co. Making music, you don't need all this gear, right? You can do it with what you have. But when I started to move into streaming, it was like, oh wow, streaming is a different kind of thing. Yeah, you need a high-end computer to be able to process and send all this data out. You're going to need cameras. You're going to need a desk. So I invested money into building up something. And these two little drawers here, I didn't necessarily buy these to be drawers. These are like $10 each. And I still use them now. I still use them now. They're actually under my desk now. So they're being repurposed. But the reason I bought these was to put other things on, like the monitors, and have a set of drawers. Everything had to make sense. So you can see not much of a change. I bought a chair. I've still got the chair. I'm sitting on it now. And you'll notice I bought a new guitar. So these are some things I started updating. And again, this is my setup. I was thinking I'm going to start streaming. So the next thing I need to do is get a computer. I have all this. So I added an extra guitar to my arsenal. And not long after, this TV would become what I have now, which is sitting up here. Can I lean this back? There it is. There's my TV. So I don't watch TV, but I use this TV as a gigantic monitor. So there we go. There's that. So I bought a TV especially for live streaming. Let me angle this camera back here. Then I bought a drum kit. And once again, I've learnt lessons along the way. Did I need a drum kit? Absolutely not. But I had started playing drums and making music in GarageBand and was like, man, I'm really enjoying tapping the screen. And I know I was pretty good on other people's drum kits when I was younger. I'm going to buy an electronic drum kit. I made a massive mistake with this, a drum kit. I bought this for $400 and it was from China and it was a piece of shit. It was awful. It was so bad and it really didn't help at all. And I ended up having to get rid of it and it's sitting downstairs. So you're going to make mistakes along the way, right? But those mistakes get less, I believe, the more you understand about, researching the things that you need and making sure it has all those things that you need before hitting that buy button. And I'll tell you what, I have currently in my eBay basket about 200 items. And what happens with me is those items sit there in the basket, sometimes for up to a year. And I'm always knowing that that thing is there that I want, but I'm not going to buy it until I master the thing that's going to replace. Let me explain that. For starters, when I started streaming, I got a mixer because it just is what it is. If you really want to go large and have a decent sound for streaming, playing guitar and singing live, I don't care what anybody says, a mixer is the way to go, in my opinion, yeah? Right, over an interface. An interface is a 2-channel interface. This is a mixer. It has a USB in the back. You can control multiple channels. You can put a mic in there. You can have your interface going in there. You've got control and you can create a really decent sound. Because when you're live streaming, yeah, it doesn't matter what the picture looks like. Really doesn't. If the sound sucks, you're fucked. Sound is very important if you're streaming, just like recording music. If you record a vocal into your DAW and the performance and the recording of it is terrible, it's too loud, you've recorded it too hot, there's nothing you can do to fix it. And nobody's going to want to listen to it, right? Same with streaming. If you're streaming out to people and your audio is fucked, people don't have to look at the picture, right? You can look away. You can do other things and just listen. But if that sound is fucked, you're fucked. So in my opinion, getting a decent mixer was always something I wanted to do. So these Yamaha things are cheap as, and they have sound effects in them. And I swore by this thing for 2 years, yeah? So I had 2 of these. I had a smaller model that had knobs, exactly the same thing, but it didn't have sliders. It had knobs. And I used that for 2 years. And it was such a workhorse, I even ended up pouring a cup of tea into it on a live stream. Halfway through the live stream, I accidentally tipped over a full cup of tea into my mixing desk and thought that was the end. It went in my computer as well, which I just bought. and I was devastated. Thankfully, they survived. But the whole thing is, I kept that mixer for the longest time, even though I outgrew it after 2 years, until I fully understood how it worked. Yeah, and I pushed it to absolutely the brink of no return. There was nothing more I can do. And as the rest of the show was getting more complicated, the mixer was starting to tie me down. And that took 2 years. So, and over that period of time, I'd been looking at other things that I could possibly upgrade to when it was time, because it has to be time, you know. So going back here, you can see we've got my little drum kit, my 3 guitars, my TV. Here's my little studio. It's all going good. Yeah, I'm having a good time. I'm not streaming by this stage. Then we moved to this where I put the TV above the little cabinets here, and I'm still kind of rocking the same setup. It's pretty similar. Then I added a keyboard in here, a little $10 keyboard. Again, shitty keyboard. It caused me so much pain. I hated it, but I stuck with it because I couldn't afford anything else, and I didn't need to. It worked for what it needed to do, and that's the most important thing. As long as it works and you're not getting too stressed with it, you're all good. So this is my live streaming setup. I had no studio light, just my music setup, no streaming, no lights or nothing yet. And then, oh man, a lot of photos. Then I got this crazy idea. You're going to love this. Oh, we've got video. All right, so I've got some video of... yeah. That's the same thing as what I've been looking at. Jesus Christ. Then I got an idea to build a vocal booth. Did I need a vocal booth? I didn't need a vocal booth. But you know what? I wanted to try and make one. And I was certainly not going to pay the thousands of dollars. So this is heading into this DIY section. Don't discount DIY, right? It's fun. I'm not good at making any shit like that, right? But I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I came across this amazing channel that gave you schematics to go and make a booth. Is the booth still here? The booth's still here. It's downstairs. Eventually, it'll make its comeback because the problem was I didn't think about space. And at the time, I was in the other room in this house and it was much smaller. Now, it would fit in here easily. So I went and bought some PVC pipe and some packing blanket, and I built this incredibly ugly vocal booth. And here's the thing: this isn't a soundproofing booth. This is you know, people can still hear me screaming my head off in there. But what it does is it creates a dead room, right? Totally dead. And in my house, I can't put too many things on the wall because I don't want to get in trouble. Yeah. So I built this thing and put all this foam inside it. There it is on the inside. So I put these cutouts of foam inside it, and you can see the PVC pipe. Do you know how much this thing cost me? $125 to make. And it's wicked. It absolutely is wicked, right? But it's just too big for the space. So there it is. It was taking up a quarter of my bedroom. And you've got to remember, I had a bedroom here with all this gear in it and a single bed. And I was all cramped. I was living in this studio. It was horrible. It was a horrible experience living inside a studio. So you can see my bed down here, just here. Not a lot of room. So, and then I've got some video of it. Let's let that go through. No, what is this video? No, this is another video. What's this one? I've gone together and tried to put together some stuff for you today. What's this? So let's stop that there. Did you see? I bought some new guitars because it got to the point as well where I needed a bass. I needed a bass. I bought some acoustic guitars because I had been homeless, and there's a method to my madness. Let me explain. When you live your life working your whole life, and you everything you have, you work hard for, and then some shit happens when you lose everything. When you start clawing your life back together and building back who you were through illness and shit that went down, which I'm not going to go into. If you know my story, you know about it. You want to have some nice things again, right? So there's that as well. That's not discount, because there's lots of factors in buying things and the things that make us happy and stuff. And for me, I'd owned 2 guitars for a long, long time. And I used to have many guitars, and I like owning guitars. So I have to admit there's some things in my studio that I've bought for me to just feel nice. That's okay. You can do that. You're allowed to do that. You shouldn't feel bad about that stuff as well. If it makes you happy, if it's one of those things that you walk into a room every day and see something like a guitar, like something like I have a Darth Vader costume and it makes me happy. We all have these things that make us happy, and you shouldn't feel bad about that stuff. The problem can be is if you're buying things to make you sound, to be better, to make better music and do certain things better, you're not going to need all of that stuff. That's my point. But, having things that you like is okay if it helps you spiritually, emotionally, That's important. Let's go back to this video here. And we'll get to all the streaming stuff in a minute. And as you can tell, right, by these videos and all the photos I'm taking, I like all this stuff. I'm really proud of buying all this stuff. I appreciate it. I set it up, I move it into places that I like, and I walk into my studio every day and I feel good, right? And I like shooting a video of it. It makes me happy. That's all right. Anyway, so there's my vocal booth, which you could actually walk into. It had its own iPad in there. And there's a wide shot of the whole thing too. So there's my vocal booth, and I'm taking the photo from my bed there. And you'll notice here a few differences. This is where things picked up, yeah? There's the mixer. There's the new laptop sitting up here. These are things I had to buy to start streaming. 2 very important things to start streaming, because the computer needed to be very high-end to handle high-end streaming. And I still have this computer now after 3 years. It's still sitting there. It is a MSI gaming laptop because they're powerful. Yeah, they're meant to play high-end games. It has done me so well, but it costs a lot of money. It was like $2,500. I've never spent that much on a computer in my life. And I'm telling you what, I'm getting the $2,500 out of it. It's going to give me at least another 2 years, or I'll smash it. So again, but this goes back to buying things that you're going to get a long period of time out of, because you got to take into account too, even with things like streaming. Let's talk about it. Depreciation. Not only are you buying this gear, right? Guitar leads, USB cables, hubs, USB hubs. These things die really quickly. Microphone leads for all of this stuff. I've got into the habit over the last 3 years of, if I'm looking at buying something big like a guitar and I don't need it, instead I pull away and go, don't buy that. Put it on the save list. Go and buy some fucking leads. Go and buy a couple of mic leads. Go buy some guitar leads. Go buy some USB cables, even though I don't need them. And when they come, put them in a box. put them in a box. And I have this wonderful crate behind my green screen here, which has HDMI cables, USB-C to USB-A, USB-A extension cords, guitar leads, microphone cables that are unopened, just ready to go. And yesterday, before my opening hour, my mic lead was fucked. And I was able to just go and grab a new one. It's much better to think about depreciation instead of buying new gear. Absolutely important to think about depreciation, especially when you're streaming every day. You're using these things every day. They're going to die, right? So having the things that connect all the good things is much more important than having more good things, if you get what I'm saying. Again, these are just my experiences. Yeah, just my experiences. Take them for what they will. But yeah, so a new laptop. And there's my my mixer, which I had to get to start streaming. And that was the ticket to doing this show. Because the sound was good. There's my mixer. And this served me well for 2 years. 2 years using this. We got some more video here of guitars and stuff, it looks like.
Here's my view from my bed. I'm filming on my new iPhone, by the way. I have too many iOS devices.
Let's skip this. So again, we got...
I'm just tidying up all my stuff. So
I'm a little bit anal. I do like to document my gear.
that's my new 7-port USB with an external hard drive.
See, here's the thing. From the outside of looking at a streaming studio, it looks like everything's, it's pretty standard stuff. You've got everything here. It's all the stuff that connects everything that is the most important shit. Let me tell you that. Hubs. Do I have a sugar daddy? No, absolutely not. I've explained. So during the pandemic, okay, when people were getting locked down, and here in Australia and some other countries, the governments were giving their citizens money to live while you were locked down. And in Australia, because we have a social net, a safety net here in Australia, when they were giving money out to Australians, I know a lot of people drank it, put it in their arms, or just virtually pissed it against the wall. I took that money and started this and tried to think in advance and create something that I could come out of the pandemic and have long term. As I said, I was homeless for a period of time. And when you lose everything, once you get housed again, you are super protective of everything and your mind changes and you get reprogrammed to think about every purchase you make and what you want in the future. So during this pandemic, for me, it was a great time to reset and take every cent that we were given to actually set up something that I could make a living from, possibly. So that's the reason behind buying all the gear. And now, anything that I buy, here's a tip. I use a thing called Afterpay here in Australia. And I know other countries have a very similar thing where you can buy something immediately and pay it off over 8 weeks. As long as you pay it the payment every 2 weeks. That's how I buy everything. So I plan it out so I can have it now and make sure I have enough to make payments every 2 weeks for 8 weeks. So I'm paying it off slowly. I don't need the exact money. And I know you're probably thinking you could get into a lot of shit like that, but not if you plan it out. Not if you write everything down and plan it out over a period of time. That's how I've operated for the last 3 years. And it works for me. And, I can have stuff now, but at the same time be responsible enough to pay it off. So that's a key thing. Hello, development of Avoid and Tristan. Good to see you. And Pendar. And if I've missed you all. So we get to kind of getting closer to where we are now. And you can see here's my little mixer down here. There's that little mixer that I was using all this time. I still got this cheap little keyboard. Look, it's kind of a very similar setup now. Everything's kind of still the same except for this thing. I know we'll get to this thing because it was a lot of money. And it changed everything though. So we're going through a video of how my studio has changed over the years. Has this one got music? Yeah. I hope I don't get a claim for that music. Here is my studio now. Let's jump ahead a little bit. This is what it looks like now, right? Walking in from my room. Now look, there's my amp corner with my guitars and my amps, or one of my guitars. My rack of guitars, yeah. My drums in the corner. Because I upgraded my drums as well and bought a nice E-kit. Couple of new boom arms, new monitors, finally. Let me just pause that there. Those new monitors, I used the other monitors for 2.5 years. And as I said, now I've moved those monitors down to my lounge room. And I bought these new monitors because, see, everything has to have a reason too. I just didn't buy new monitors because I wanted louder monitors or a different look of monitors. I have a small space in this room, right? And certain monitors have, like all monitors have a hole where the air has to come out. And those old monitors I had, the air hole was at the back. So when they're against the wall, that's not a good thing. So I upgraded my monitors for the sole reason that, see, if you have a look, see that long strip at the bottom of those monitors, the air comes out of the front of these monitors. So that was the sole reason I updated. So I could push these monitors more towards the back of the wall, and I'm not going to get any problems with the airflow of the monitors. There was a reason, you know. You have to have a solid reason and have got use out of the thing that you had before. You go to school for music, tech, or learned a bit of both. I mean, I've talked about it here on the channel. I studied vocals. I'm I hate saying classically trained but I'm a trained vocalist. I've spent years working in recording studios. I went to School of Audio Engineering for a period of time. I love gear. I love exhaust. You know what I love more about gear? I love getting gear, and then I love exhausting gear. I love using it till a breaking point, till you can't. I love sucking everything out of that gear, yeah, and just pushing it to the breaking point, to then I can get something better, yeah? Because that's exciting. That means you've used it to its fullest, you've broken it completely, and you've sucked every bit of money out of it that you possibly can, and you understand it because you've used it, so you've tried every single method to get every single thing out of it possibly. And I'll tell you the reason why I have that mindset. Here it is. It's because I make music on iOS. And if you make music on iOS, you'll understand too that iOS isn't straightforward. Sure, it's wicked. You know, it's great. We have these little glass tablets in our hands and we can make music on them. But with iOS, you constantly have to find a workaround to make it do things that a PC would just do like that. But that's kind of exciting for me, right? Because I've got this amazing piece of glass I can take anywhere, and I'm always having to troubleshoot. And there's nothing worse than when your brain doesn't have to work anymore. You know what I'm saying? And you just... It's like being in an office job in a cubicle, yeah? So having gear like the iPad has taught me to always think outside the box and come up with new ways to push it to its limit. And you should be doing that if you're spending all this money on gear. Sucking the most energy out of it as much as you can. Let's go back and play a bit more of this. So you'll see now, this studio has grown so much. There's my dirty computer, which is clean now. I'll finish by talking about that thing there. And now I've got a Mac over here. And you'll see a bunch of gear there that I don't even use. All right. So let's pause that. So there is a bunch of gear I have that I rarely use. And I mentioned at the start of the show that there's things that I've bought just for this show. Yeah, just so I can show people how to use it. And there's been companies that have sent me gear to do a show on as well, which I haven't paid for. And I've had to say, this was sent to me by a company. But there's things also that I have paid for to do a show on. Like this Novation Launchpad X. I paid for this just so I could do a show on it. And it wasn't cheap. It was like $200. Have I ever used it? It looks nice, but I got value out of it by doing a show on it. And hopefully somebody could make a decision of if they would use it. Will I use it? Hey, damn straight. If there is an opportunity for me to use this, pops up, I have it sitting there. That's cool, right? So there are things that I have that I don't use. And that's okay. It's all right. Because I'm in a situation where I'm doing this show and trying to review things and do all that, so that comes into account. I'm going to finish off today. I hope I've been clear, and I will do a final recap, but I'm going to talk about, let me just bounce over here for a second. The last two things we're going to talk about, and here's a photo of the studio looking good. Look how small that room is with all that shit in there. That was in my other room. Man. And I had a single bed in there. And let me tell you, my sleep was pretty bad because all these electronic things in a bedroom doesn't help with your sleep. Let me give you some advice. If you're going to have a studio, don't make it your bedroom, yeah? Because it'll fuck with your sleep and fuck with your mind. That much electricity while you're trying to sleep and just bluff screens fucking melt your brain. I'm telling you. So there was my first upgrade. Now we're talking about mixing desks. So this was the first desk that I used for ages. I told you it had a cup of tea emptied into it. I had to take it apart, dry it out. Then I upgraded to the same model just with sliders. But not long after that, I upgraded to this thing here. This is now the absolute workhorse of my entire studio. This is everything in my studio. This thing is about $1,000, probably $800 for people. Do I recommend anybody go out and buy a Rodecaster Pro 2? No. Did I need it? No. Did I want it? Absolutely. And why did I want it? Because I wanted to have an easier way to stream, an easier way to do things, yeah? I wanted to have a sound effect like this. I wanted to be able to play music whenever I wanted. I wanted to be able to have people on my show that I didn't have to worry about loop back and you know, echo delay and turning off StreamYard echo cancellation and just all these things. And I could do all this in this one device. And it really has changed the sound of the show and everything. See you later, DOA. And that is the reason I spent a lot of money on this. And I'm telling you what, it has been the best thing I've bought for the studio. But let me tell you, did I do research on this? I researched the absolute fuck out of this. Everything that I have in this studio, I've researched the absolute crap out of. I've watched as many videos as I can, going into it with this mindset. This YouTuber is not telling me to buy this. I am doing research. What's going on, Pete Johns? Pete Johns is coming up next, folks, from Studio Live today, and I'll dump you over there. He's going to be playing your music live for the next 2 hours. Research, research, research. Make sure it does all the things that you want it to do. Make sure you've exhausted everything out of the current thing that you have. Make sure you actually don't need this, yeah? Very important. Don't waste money on things that you don't need. Sure, waste money on things that you want or need. Do what makes you happy. That's the most important thing, okay? But absolutely do your research on all this stuff and understand what it's going to do, if it's going to help you out with what you're going to do. And absolutely no... Yeah, and absolutely check the description. Great point, Pete. Check the description of the video on if it's sponsored, on if the product's sponsored. You can normally tell. You can normally tell because if they're just saying, this is amazing, this is amazing, there's nothing wrong with it, and you need to get it, you have to get it, you must get it, you will get it, normally they're being paid. Yeah? So, and there's a difference between a company sending something to be reviewed or paying somebody to review it and sending something. So just be aware of all that stuff too. Now, recently I updated my web cameras. So I'm going to finish on this before we play our featured artist. And here's the deal. I've been using the same web cameras on this show for 3 years. And I recommend them still 100%. These little things here, let me show you. They're bloody cool. Let me give you my overhead cam. The C920 Logitech. I've got 3 of them, and they're all my camera angles, yeah? These things are workhorses. Yeah, for starting out streaming, yes, these are great. They're cheap. They're fantastic. But recently I updated and added 2 new webcams to my stream, which is this one. Whoop. This one here, which is an Elgato face cam. And I got another one of them too, which is here, the Elgato face cam. And you can see it in this long shot here, attached here. Why did I do that? I didn't need to. But I just wanted the picture to be a bit clearer for you. That's it. That was it. I just want, over time, the show to start to constantly evolve and look better and sound better. But I don't want it to happen overnight because it doesn't make sense and it doesn't need to happen, yeah? I got by with the first 3 years of doing this show with lots of cheap stuff that just worked, all pieced together, and over time I've upgraded stuff, yeah? Because these gradual changes, I think, work better for you because you max out what you're using, you get the most out of it, and then by the time you get 3 years in, maybe you'll be making some money enough to buy something from YouTube, you know? That's it. And luckily I have wonderful people like my Patreons and people who are members here and who send super chats on the channel for my live performances and on shows. And you guys contribute to helping me grow this because everything I make on this channel, I invest back into this. Yeah, because I just want this to get better and better and better and look nicer, sound nicer, and have a really good experience. Lastly, I'm going to go over here and yeah, so you can do all those things too. I've got a Patreon if you'd like to join that and continue to support. I've got a website there at haponios.com. You can always share, like, and subscribe. That stuff helps 100%. You know, so thank you all for helping with that. Yeah, the Elgato face cam was the camera that I mentioned. Tristan, there it is. Now, remember, this may look new and fancy. This thing came out 2 years ago. They've even got a new one now called Facecam Pro. I didn't buy that. Because you don't need the fucking newest one. Right? That's amazing. And it's 2 years old. And I saved, by doing that, $300 more they wanted for the new one. You don't have to have the newest of everything. Go back 2 years. Watch reviews from things from 2 years ago. You'll find there's great stuff. It really hasn't been updated that much. Anyway, the last thing I'm going to show you today, and it's not for any type of, I'm trying to get you to buy anything, but it's more so to show you some of the things that I own that I haven't used. I've got a gear guide on my my website, which I don't push hardly ever. If you've watched a show, I hardly ever push this, but it shows all the things I own, yeah? And I can go through here and there's things on here that I don't even use, right? Why? Because, again, I bought these to do demos to show you, yeah? Like my drone, I hardly even use my drone anymore. You know, I don't even use this anymore because I've upgraded. But these are all little things that I've purchased. So if you want to go and have a look at them, but they're all things I still recommend. As you can see, there's my Logitech camera, which I've got 3 of them, my drum kit, the mics that I use. These things are all on my gear guide if you want to have a look. Look at this thing I did a review on, the Joyo Mo Mix. I've never used it, but it's incredible. It's an incredible piece of kit. So, and there's a lot of things that I don't use. And, you know, that's okay. I have a violin that I bought a year and a half ago that I've never used. Well, I've tuned up. I just can't play it. All right. Hopefully you've enjoyed the first rant. There'll be lots to come every week. This time I'll be ranting on something else, and I've got shitloads of things to talk about. We'll be talking about streaming. We'll be talking about apps. Do you need to buy them? Lots of things to come on this show each week at this time to kick off the start of the week. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it and by liking the video and you want me to keep doing these once a week, and I'll keep doing it. But we're going to play today's featured artist, who is James Timms, and his music's fantastic. And then I'm going to dump you all over to Pete Johns at Studio Live today, and he's going to be playing your music live. We're back tomorrow with a really cool app. You're going to love this app that we are looking at tomorrow. It is so much fun. I'm going to make tomorrow on the show live a digital death metal song using PunkGen, the Digi Death Metal machine. This thing's mental, right? We're going to take a look at it tomorrow. Let's get out of here. This is James Timms. This is his brand new track. He's just dropped it yesterday. Do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better, and we'll all rise together. James Timms, boom.